Welcome back to Switch to Linux. I did not have a video yesterday, and oh boy, I was just neck deep in diagrams and things, and so I just didn't get the time to do that. But today I want to combine the loss of my outdoor philosophy with my top 5 and come up with your top 5 basic life skills. And what I am finding more and more frequently is how many people don't have some of these basic life skills. And it's really important to learn. And it can be difficult at times to learn. And we all jump in and say, oh, I'm just no good at this, or I'm no good at that. And the reality is, of course you're no good at it. You've never done it before. So take some baby steps and do some basic learning. And so our top 5, we're going to talk about these top 5 items. And we're going to go ahead and dive right on in. Number 1, keep organized. Learn to keep things organized. Know where your tools are. Know what your tools are. Know where your kitchen supplies are. Know what everything is where you have and how to have things organized. Don't want to have haphazard piles of things all over the place where you're always looking. Now, to be fair, there are certain people that can actually function very well. In fact, the department chair when I was an undergrad, his office was so stacked high of papers, anybody would look at that and go, what in the world's going on? But he never lost anything. Nothing. Piles and piles of stuff everywhere. Some people just function well under that. But at least have some degree of organization that even if that's you need to have that. But for a lot of people, organization kind of means cutting back a lot of things. Don't have piles of stuff everywhere. Just keep things the way they need to be to keep things done. This includes keeping your house clean, keeping everything, everything tidy. It gets to the point now as I've converted my life to minimalism, it's like, okay, I need to go clean. Well, that only took 35 minutes, because I don't have stuff to get cluttered up. But keeping organized allows me to find what I need to find in quick order. And that's one of those core things is just learn how to keep organized. Number 2, learn to cook. There's a lot of bad stuff in our food these days. And our food's actually getting worse. The food, if you get the same exact food you have now and compare it to the same exact food you had 20 years ago, even the same exact food has changed significantly. I find almost everything now has emulsifiers, everything now has sugars, everything now has artificial flavorings. Now, there's been in recent years an exodus from artificial flavorings, like, Kraft macaroni and cheese no longer has artificial flavorings. They're coloring it with paprika now instead of the orange food coloring. Well, kudos to them. That's actually good. But there's still a whole lot of stuff in that's pretty nasty, and that's actually why I make nearly everything. And I'm really down to only a few recipes of things that I still need to buy the processed versions of, but I'm slowly eliminating those out. Everything from snack foods, soft pretzels, all the cookies, all the desserts, all the ice creams, all that kind of stuff. I make it myself without the preservatives and things like that. And here's the one, by the way, to look for is look for your emulsifying agents. These are your gums, xanthan gum, arabica gum. It says gum in it. There is currently research being done because there is a pretty good hypothesis that this sharp increase in food allergies may have a lot to do with emulsifiers because the emulsifiers are stripping away the mucous membranes around the enterocytes in our intestines, allowing undigested protein particles to seep into the bloodstream, and that causes an immune response. That's not super demonstrated, but it's a hypothesis people are looking at. So learn how to cook so that you can have good, real, healthy food. Make your things without sugar. Like I make my own pizza sauces, my own pasta sauces, all that kind of stuff now. I do those now without any sugar. And, just learn how to cut the preservatives, the gums, and the sugars out of your life when you can. I mean, you will feel so much better in your life. Your body will start regenerating itself a whole lot better. The food is the substance of what we need. And if all you're doing is eating a bunch of processed food and eating out a whole lot, you probably also don't have very good health. So learn how to cook. Number 3, as it relates to this channel, learn how to work on your computers. A lot of people unfortunately, they're like, oh, I'm scared of the computer. And then, and one of them is, unfortunately, those of us computer geeks like myself, we can sometimes become a crutch for people to come over and do whatever we need to do. And sometimes we're appreciative to do that, and sometimes it's an annoyance for us to do that. I mean, I know some people that are really good at computers that they will not touch their family's computers. Like, I'm not touching your computer. Okay? But here's the problem is if something goes goofy, you know, you could end up calling up one of these 1-800, we're going to steal all your money, infect your computer numbers, scams, or you'll take it to a local Staples, a local Best Buy, and those guys don't know anything about computers. They're following a corporate checklist of things they have to do. All they exist for is to extract money out of the ignorant consumers when it comes to what's on your computer. You'd be like, my computer's running slow. You take it to them, what are they going to do? Install a bloatware suite of crap marketed by their own marketing team with all the little things in an auto subscription. You take it to the computer, it's like, oh, I have a broken screen. Oh, just get a new computer. For a $30 part and 15 minutes of labor, learn to replace the screen on your computer. What about a hard drive goes out? Figure out how to reboot your system. Figure out how a boot drive works. Take time to do these little things. And these are those things I did because, and this is a funny story, particularly from a guy on a tech channel, but all through high school, I didn't even so much as have a calculator. I never even had a calculator. I got the highest grade in chemistry doing the math up and down the margins on the side of the paper. It was actually quite awesome. But then I got into calculus, pre-calculus, like, you have to have a calculator. And so I got this scientific calculator. This is still my calculator from my last year in high school. And you know what? We came from a poor family. Our family was very poor. And this calculator cost us over $100. And I would be darned if my mom was spending $100 on a calculator for me to do 1 + 1. It's a programmable calculator, so I sat down, read the manual, and learned how to program in BASIC. Thank you very much. It just took some time. It took turning off the boob tube, reading a little bit of tools, and getting a little bit of online help and figuring out how to do some basic things. And that's the way you should do your computers. I first bought my computer in my last year of high school because I realized I wanted to go on, you know, into the academic realm of the world, and computers were part of academia is what I had realized. And so what I ended up doing is I spent some money on $1,700 on my first real good computer running Windows 95, 90 megahertz zip Zorin processor. That thing had 32 amazing megabytes of RAM. 1.6 gigabyte hard drive. That guy said, you will never fill this hard drive. That's probably why he's not in the computer industry today. I don't know. But anyway, I got this computer and, you know, tinkered around a little bit, messed up something somewhere on the line, and I had to learn how to reinstall drivers. It was just a baby step. And then I had to learn how to do something else. I had to learn how to do this. I had to learn how to do that. Ask questions. Look things up. Figure it out. And in reality, learn how to work on your computers. Learn what a hard drive is. Learn what RAM is. Learn what you can upgrade and what you can't upgrade. Learn all of those little things so that you can have some degree of competency and you're not just taking your computer to some store like a Staples or a Best Buy and be like, it seems to be running slow, and I don't know anything about computers. They're sitting there going, oh, good. And they're going to be sitting over there and doing all sorts of funky stuff. Oh, yeah, that seems to be in there. That seems to be good. Not bad. Yeah, oh, whatever. We just went ahead and installed everything. Yeah. It's like $700, please. Guys, learn how to do your computers. Learn how to work on your computers. Learn how to work on your operating systems. Those types of things, because the more you learn how to do those, the less money you're going to put out for the basic tasks that are actually very easy. Number 4, on that same trend, learn how to work on your car. And this is the reason I've been a little shy on videos, and I do apologize for those looking for that chocolate chip cookie video on home cooking hacks. It didn't happen because I've been dealing with tearing apart and rebuilding parts of my car over the last couple of days. And so we'll learn how to work on your car because we don't always have a lot of money and we cannot always trust the local mechanic. Now, figure out and have in your back pocket a couple good, real, trusted mechanics.
We're talking about real mechanics who know how to do stuff with cars. We're not talking about parts replacers. And I had intended to tell a whole lot more of the story than I did on my live stream the other night. But, you know, my car stopped working. I was downtown. It's negative temperatures. And I'm with a teenager. So it's like, okay, we got to figure out, you know, safety first, figure out safety. And then I just wanted to leave the car there a little bit. Ended up paying $18 to keep the car in the lot overnight. No big deal. Couldn't start it in the morning, so I paid $60 to tow the thing. So strategically, I actually took it to one of these parts places. I'm like, I don't really want to, but I'm not going to be able to tow it to a real good mechanic who can look at it on a Saturday. And my working hypothesis is I probably just had to let the thing warm up. It's possible some water got in the fuel line and froze. That's a possibility. And so we towed the thing over there, and oh boy, are those parts replacers. Those guys were the most incompetent fools. In fact, I still am yet to call their corporate office and ask them if this is how they treat their customers, because I take the car over there, towed over there, and drop it off, and they're like, yeah, whatever. So they want to charge me $99.99 for engine diagnostic service, which is sublined as computerized engine analysis, which they didn't actually do. They did not actually do it. I asked them, you know, what did the engine codes report? Oh, we didn't do that. So they charged me for it, but they didn't do that. And so I brought it in there, and they insisted the car had no oil in it. Because the car was working perfectly fine, I think it had oil in it. The problem is if that car sits in an angle it was sitting at, it was on an angle, literally parked on an angle, sitting on an angle it was parked at, then the oil is not going to read anything on the dipstick. And so it gets towed, puts in there, not started for a day and a half. They're checking, like, there's no oil. What did those morons do? They just added 3 quarts of oil in a car that takes 4 quarts. If your dipstick shows no oil, it was priorly functioning, and you think it's low in oil, you add 1 quart, people. 1. Not a whole ton more. So there is still too much oil in the car. That is something I'm going to deal with tomorrow. I'm going to work on that tomorrow. All right. And then, so they're like, well, there was that, and it must be the fuel pump. So that's like a $700 to replace. And oh yeah, your battery needs replaced as well. Now, mind you, they tested the battery afterwards and sitting in negative temperatures for 2 days without being able to start after we tried to start it 20 times. Guess what? The battery is a little low in amps. And so, basically, I was like, okay, whatever. Well, they were able to get it started. I think probably having to do with the fact that it was towed, it was disturbed, all this kind of stuff. So it starts up for them. I go, I pick it up, drive it home. Now, meanwhile, before I left the lot, and I really wish I would have recorded this phone conversation, but I didn't. Before leaving the lot, I start the car up. It did not sound correct at all. And the oil there was way too much oil in it. And I go in and I talk to the manager. I say, hey, there seems to be too much oil in here. He actually says to me, you're crazy. Okay. So I raise a legitimate question about the most simple of oil mechanics in a car. And your simple retort is, I'm just crazy. Okay. Well, let's see who the crazy one is. Because as of right now, the car is working perfectly fine, probably better than it's run for a while, because guess what I did? I took yesterday to walk through the systems, diagnose the problem, and figure out what the issue is. Their automatic assumption is a fuel pump, which is a $639.99 part, according to them. Guess what? If they had just gone up there and replaced the fuel pump, guess what? The car wouldn't have started. That wasn't the problem. Now, do you know that there's a few things that can cause a car to not start? You know the most common on that type of car, that age of car? Pass lock. The security system gets old, can't identify itself, and cuts power to the fuel filter. Or excuse me, to the fuel pump. And to the engine ignition coils. So you got to check where everything's at. So I ran a series of diagnostics. Was it pass lock? That's also a good hypothesis because when it's towed, it resets pass lock. That's a possibility. So I looked into that. And I looked into things. Here's what I knew. They just said, oh, it wouldn't start. We tapped on the gas tank and it started. That must be the fuel pump. They didn't know what the fuel pressure was. I knew I wasn't getting fuel pressure. But here's the funny thing. If you go into a car and you hit it into the on position without actually triggering the ignition coil, you will hear the fuel pump for about 2 seconds, 2 to 3 seconds. It'll go on, go real quiet. Fuel pump is fine. I could hear it. Except it would work intermittently. But here's the point why it was working intermittently. The fuel filter was the problem. The fuel filter was what the problem was in the car. All I had to do is replace the fuel filter, which is, I want to say I paid either $12 or $14 for it today. It took me a little longer to replace because I live in Pennsylvania, and yeah, we have this stuff that rusts cars. But it took me about 45 minutes to replace the fuel filter. That's quite a bit longer than it should have. But regardless, replace the fuel filter, end up having to remove one other part to get to the fuel filter more effectively to actually get it off. But replacing something as simple as the fuel filter, spilling out about, I don't know, a couple tablespoons of gasoline from the fuel filter into a little catch bucket, swapping that little $14 part on there, clipping it back into place, screwing it back in there. Well, I just saved myself about $700 that wouldn't have fixed the problem. Learn how to repair your car, people. Brakes are a big one. A full brake job on a car, take it to one of these parts replacers, they want to charge you about $1,000. The actual parts cost $100, and the time to install is about less than 2 hours. I know. I don't trust myself with brakes. Stop telling yourself that. Stop it. Stop it. Learn how to do this stuff. Start with the basics. Build up a little bit of confidence by changing your oil. Maybe change your own spark plugs. Build up the courage to work on your car some. There's obviously going to be some things you need to bring in a bigger, heavy-duty, more experienced mechanic. But at least if you have to do that, take it to the mechanic and tell him everything that you've done to diagnose the problem so far. You'll probably save yourself a lot of labor. Absolutely. Learn how to do these basic life skills. Learn how to fix your car. Do basic car maintenance. Learn how all that other stuff works. And here's my final tip. Learn how to learn. Learn how to learn. Learn how to do it. Because did I exactly know how to change the fuel pump yesterday? Have I changed fuel pumps all days? Nope. Had to learn how to do it. Had to get online. Had to research what the part was. How the connectors worked. How to access it. What equipment I needed to access it. I learned how to learn. When I knocked the drivers out of my Windows 95 computer 2 decades ago, I had to learn how to reinstall drivers, and that gave me the confidence to do the next biggest thing. And then the next thing, within a couple years, I had enough confidence to actually change the motherboard in my whole computer. Right? That's the thing, folks, is you gotta have to, there you go. You gotta have to grammar, yo. You need to learn how to learn. Learn how to move beyond your confidence. Do an internet search. Do some research. Spend a few hours and engage yourself in your problem. Whatever your problem is. Whether that's learning how to make homemade soft pretzels or repairing your car that won't start so you can save yourself several $1,000s. Learn how to learn. Whether it's jumping from your Windows 10 computer over to Linux or repairing a computer that won't boot. Learn how to learn. Get on, do some internet searches. Learn how to learn. These are basic life skills that I'm seeing lately are a whole lot more lacking than they should be. So thanks for watching this video. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can check out switchtolinux.com/support. As of right now, we have Patreon, patreon.com/TomM. And we also have PayPal links and some Amazon links down below. So you can check out the Amazon links if you'd like to help buy something on Amazon. Use our affiliate store. That would actually does not cost you anything extra, and it sends a little bit of small commission to us for sending it over that way. So thanks for watching it, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.